Hey everybody, before we dive into today's video, I have some exciting news. I'm running a giveaway for a 12-month VIP Plus voucher for HackTheBox. And if you've been looking to level up your hacking skills or maybe hit more machines like the one we're tackling today, this is your chance. Stick around until the end of the video to find out how to enter. Now, I never expected to get so much love from y'all, so I wanted to give something back to the community. And really, it's your support that keeps me going, and this giveaway is just a small way for me to show my appreciation. With that being said, today we'll dive into a vulnerable blog site with a few login forms that gave me a run for my money. And after gaining admin access, we figure out how to establish our server foothold before finally escalating our privileges to root. And along the way, we'll use SQLmap not to write to the database, but to extract some juicy password hashes that we'll need to crack. We'll also bypass some file upload filters like a whitelist, blacklist, and finally use a clever trick with 7-zip for privilege escalation. And while this is considered an easy box on HackTheBox, I personally would rate it more of a medium. And as always, this is for educational purposes only. Don't go using SQLmap without a legitimate reason or permission. You know what? Just don't go using it at all. Whether you're here to learn something new or just enjoy some hacking action, stick around. You don't want to miss this one. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, now that we got the IP address, let's go ahead and do some recon on it and see exactly what ports are open. In this case, I'm going to use the P flag for all the ports for the 10.10.11.18, which is the HackTheBox IP address for the usage machine. And we're going to run it with a min rate of 10,000 because we're not worried about being detected or anybody looking through the logs, since this is a HackTheBox machine. So we're going to let that run, and that's going to scan all 65,000 or so ports. In this case, it came back with 2 ports being open. 22 TCP for SSH, which that's interesting. That makes me think that maybe if we do get some credentials in the future, we'll probably have an opportunity to SSH into the box. The other 80 TCP open for an HTTP. So that means it's a website. So it's a web app online. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and do a little bit, a scan a little bit more in depth. In this case, we're going to target the 2 ports, the 22 and the 80, and we're going to use these flags for the scripts. And we're also going to save the output in the Nmap scan if we need to reference it for the future for the 10.10.11.18 IP address. So we're going to let that run, and that's going to do its own thing. And again, I'm going to show you on the screen what these flags indicate, so you know going forward what they are all about. And here we go. We got the results back in under 7 seconds, 8 seconds. So 22 TCP open for SSH. It's on Ubuntu Linux, the protocol 2.0. 80 TCP for HTTP on the Nginx 1.18.0. And here we go. We get in an HTTP title, did not follow redirect for the HTTP usage.htb, which is the HackTheBox machine. So usually in my videos, we go ahead and throw this IP address and name in the etc host file, but in this case we didn't. We just targeted the IP address, and when we didn't add it to the host etc, we're showing up on our scans that redirect to the usage.htb. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and we'll clear it. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and throw that IP address into that etc host file. So here is the etc host file, and there is the IP address, and we'll put usage.htb for the HackTheBox machine. Control O to save it, hit enter, Control X to exit out of Nano. And now if we want to ping usage.htb, we can go ahead and see that it's actually coming back with a response. So that's awesome. So I'm going to Control C that to close it. I'm going to clear it. All right, from here, let's go ahead and run that Ffuf scan for any hidden subdomains. So here is the command that I like using. And again, I'll show you on the screen what all this indicates. But we're going to run that and we're going to get a bunch of mess showing up. So we need to filter by size. That's what I usually like doing. So I'm seeing here the size 178. I'm going to Control C to stop that. I'm going to clear it, and then I'm going to add the FS flag for the filter size for 178. And we're going to let that run. And it looks like it's already picking up something really quick, an admin for that subdomain. So let's go ahead and start going to the website and start messing around with the website and see what type of website this is all about. So before we actually launch Firefox, let's go ahead and launch Burp Suite. And then now that Burp Suite started, we can go ahead and launch Firefox. And then from here, we'll do HTTP usage.htb. And there we go. So it looks like it is a very simple login page. So I'm going to right click view page source. That's what I usually like doing, just to uncover if there's any secrets in the view source. Usually there isn't, but who knows, maybe there'll be an easy win. So let's go through here and take a look. So we're getting a bunch of different href links, login, registration, and there is the admin subdomain. So if we didn't even do a Ffuf subdomain scan, we would have found it in the page source, in the view source. So that is awesome. Let's go ahead and scroll down. The other thing I'm noticing is here in the form action, there is a post login. So that's interesting, with a hidden input type for a token. And there is a token. So it looks like there are a bunch of tokens. Let's go ahead and click into that and see what this is all about. And it looks like, oops, an error occurred. So a 405 method not allowed. And if we remove the page source, there is that message. So the post login says something is broken. Please let us know what you were doing when this error occurred. Okay. That's interesting. So now that we know that, I'm not really seeing anything. We can go ahead and go back. And we'll just keep that in mind. I'm not really seeing much value of that, but I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind, or actually I'm going to copy that, throw that in my notes. So I have that. Let's continue down. There is the input field for the password. Okay, there is a forget password page built out, so we'll probably check that out. But it looks like forgot password and post login, an admin subdomain. So I'm assuming that's probably another dashboard for the admin, a registration, and a login. So it looks like all those are built out. So from there, we can go ahead and close it and start messing around. So there is the admin, there's registration, login. So now we are on the login. It's an email address. So maybe admin@usage.htb, and then admin as a password. Maybe we'll luck out and able to access it, but I highly doubt it. Let's go ahead and send it. And it didn't look like it. So I'm wondering, does this even actually send our data? Because we don't see any information popping up as like wrong password or anything like that. So let's go ahead and go into Burp Suite. And then from here, we'll go ahead and go into the proxy and we'll turn on intercept. And what that means is we'll start intercepting through Burp Suite the request. In other words, it will start going through Burp Suite, and then we can take a look at it, modify if we want, and then send it to the web app. So now that intercept is on, let's go back to the website and let's try that again. We'll do admin@usage.htb, and then we'll do admin. And let's go ahead and send it. And here we go. So Burp Suite has captured the request and we're seeing a bunch of information. Okay. So here is our post request and it's being sent to the post login. So that was the issue that we were running into through the page source. So it looks like the login is going through this endpoint And the thing that I'm noticing is here in the cookies. So it looks like it's using two different type of cookies. And one of them is Laravel. So this is on a Laravel. So in other words, it's built with PHP, but there is an XSRF token, and then there is a Laravel session cookie as well. So there's two different cookies, and I'm noticing the percentage 3D, which means that it's URL encoded. I'm assuming it's probably base 64 encoded as well, but we can take a look at that. And then the other thing I'm noticing is here at the bottom, there is a token. So there's the token. There is the email form that we're submitting, which is URL encoded with our password. So let's go ahead and send that to repeater, forward it. And then it looks like it sent another request followed with that for a get on the login. And I'm still seeing the same cookies that I'm seeing last time. I'm gonna forward that and take a look at the browser. And it looks like nothing really happened. So let's go dive into Burp Suite and take a look at what's going on. We'll go into repeater in the top left here. We're going to take a look at the request that we sent to log in as admin at usage with the password admin. So let's send that again and see what's going on. So it's showing us a 302 found response. So, and it's being redirected. Okay. So the other thing I want to take a look at is let's take a look at inspect, and let's do it this way. And here is the first one. Let's see what inspect can uncover. So it's going to, here's the selected text that I have. Here is decoded from URL encoding. And here is the decoded after the URL encoded is the base 64. So there is the base 64 information. So let's go ahead and I'm going to, let's do a show more. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to copy that and go into the terminal. I'm going to open up a new window and I'm going to echo this. All right. And then base 64 decode. And here is the information that we were seeing in the burp, right? After it is being decoded. I'm going to copy this again. I'm actually just going to run that same command and I'm going to throw in a JQ, and JQ is just going to take the JSON queried information and display it all nicely. So there is that. So we're getting a bunch of different variables. So this looks like it's the first cookie. Let's go back into the burp. This is our XSRF token. Now that we URL decoded it and base 64'd it, and here is the Laravel session. So let's go ahead and take a look at that and see if it's the same structure as well. So here is, instead of copying from the decoded from the URL, I'm just going to copy it straight from inspector. Right, so that is everything. And I'm going to echo this as well and do single quotes. And this time I'm going to pipe it just straight into JQ because I want to see it as well. And there is our two different tokens. One is the the XSRF token, and then the other is the Laravel session. And we'll leave the token for last because I'm not sure exactly how that is being obfuscated. But let's take a look at these because we're seeing some values based on these two tokens. So looking at these two cookies, specifically the XSRF token first is typically used for CSRF protection, cross-site request forgery protection. And that just ensures the security for the post, put, delete requests over and so on. But the Laravel session, it looks like it's a session that manages the session data, such as like the authentication and user specific states. So looking at these two, I'm assuming this is probably not our attack vector, because looking at the parameters after we JQ'd it, we're seeing the IV value we're seeing, which IV is initialization vector, which is used for encryption algorithms, the advanced encryption standard. It pretty much ensures that the same plain text is encrypted multiple times, which produces a bunch of different cipher texts. And IV just pretty much makes it more secure by adding some randomness to it. So, but looking at like the value, that's like probably the encrypted content, which is the data for the session or the authentication state. And looking at the MAC, we're seeing the message authentication code. So that just ensures the integrity of the encrypted data. In other words, if the data is tampered with, the MAC won't match, and so the server will just reject it. And finally, the tag is I'm not seeing anything there. It's just empty. So I'm assuming then this application is not used in this mode. But that seems, with all that information, that seems pretty intense for an easy box. I don't think this is the way to go for this attack vector, but it's still nice to uncover. It's still nice to dive into and learn all about this stuff. So from here, let's go ahead and open up a new window so we can keep this, because maybe we do need to come back to it. Who knows? All right, let's go ahead and go back to the site and check that back out. So we played around with the login. We tried logging in. Let's go ahead and see the register. So let's register an account. And since we already used the admin login, let's see if we can create an admin email, or I guess account, register it as admin. And I'm going to do admin as the name, admin as the email for the usage. And the reason why we're doing this is we're just trying to fingerprint to see if there is an admin email address account on the back end. And I'm going to use the admin password. So let's let me check Burp Suite and make sure intercept is on. I'm going to send that request, and it picked it up, and it's sending a post request to the post registration, and there is our information. So admin with password, and there are our tokens. So that all looks good. I'm going to forward it, and it gets another get request for registration endpoint. I'm going to forward that as well, and let's take a look. And in this case, it came back with an error, and it's saying the password field must be at least 6 characters. So that's interesting and also nice to know, because maybe now if we do need to, we can figure out, hey, do we need to crack some passwords? If we do, then they have to be at least 6 characters long. So it would have been nice if it would have told us a little bit more information, like you need some, special characters, this and that, so forth and so on, whatever. Let's go back to admin at usage, and let's do password instead of admin. We'll register that again, and there is our request. We'll forward it. We'll forward this, and we'll forward it that. And let's try logging in now with admin with the new password. So it looked like we were able to create an admin at usage.htb account, meaning that there is no admin user in the backend that we have to figure out. So let's go ahead and log in. There is our request. I'm going to send this to repeater just so I can have it. I'm going to forward it, and it's coming back with another get request to a dashboard. And okay, so I'm going to forward that as well. And there we go. So it looks like there is a dashboard built out, logged in successfully. Awesome. Unraveling the significance of server-side language penetration test. Very cool. Okay. So let's go through. Okay. So there's Laravel PHP. Okay, but I'm not really seeing anything more than that. It's just a bunch of different blogs. Let's take a look at the page source and see if there's anything hidden in the page source. So let's scroll down. In this case, nope. There is a logout button. Okay. But aside from that, I'm not seeing anything, just some hard-coded text for the blog. So that's a dead end. So since we're not really getting anything from the dashboard page, might as well log out and see if maybe there are some SQL possibilities in the login or password. But let's first check out the admin and see if maybe we can log into the admin with our credentials that we just registered through the main page. So before we go there, let's go back into the terminal, and we have to sudo nano etc host and throw in our admin into our etc host so that we can be able to access it. So I've already done that, and I'm gonna go ahead and save it and exit and clear it. And then we can go back into the website and go into the admin page. And here is the admin page, and it's another login credential. So let's take a look now. I usually like going into the page source and to see if there's anything that we can uncover in the page source. In this case, we're seeing a lot more information on the admin page source than we were on the other one. So here are some interesting things, but I'm just seeing some normal bootstrap fonts and themes. These are all pretty standard. They don't really notice much, but what's interesting is the fact that there's like a vendor, Laravel admin, so on and so on. So while the style sheets, the .css files aren't really relevant, what is relevant is, let's see if we can access these files. So we can access the CSS, but there isn't really anything in CSS files that is relevant. So let's take a look and see if we get into the folders. In this case, we're getting a forbidden. Finally get into the Laravel admin and the vendor. So we're not getting anything there. So let's go back and check out if there's anything else here. The other thing that's popping out is there's a form action post method for the admin subdomain with an admin directory and an auth login endpoint, API endpoint. So that's interesting. Let's see, login box, just using some JS files. Looks pretty normal. Maybe iCheck is something relevant. I think this is pretty standard, but let's go ahead. I'm going to copy this and then beautify JavaScript. Let's find a site. Here's a nice little site. We could just throw this in and we can beautify the code so we can take a look at it. I doubt this is anything relevant because it is MIT licensed. So let's take a look though. Here are some functions. Okay, I'm not really seeing much. I could rabbit hole and look into this and figure it out. Maybe, ChatGPT will be able to uncover something if I can throw this in there. I don't know, but it seems like that might be a dead end as well, especially for an easy box. So I'm going to close these and let's go and try the credentials, the admin. So maybe it's an email. Maybe it says username. So let's try admin. And we did make admin with password. And it came back with a page expired. Okay, so let's go back and let's turn intercept back on. try that one more time. And here we go. Okay, so we're sending a post request to the admin auth login, which is what we saw in the page source. So that's the API endpoint. And we're seeing those cookies, okay, in the Laravel session, and we're seeing the token there. And I think that's the hard-coded token that we're seeing in the page source. So, and we're remembering, okay, so let's forward it. I'm not really seeing anything, but we're getting a page expired. So let's go into the HTTP history. Here was the request that I sent. I'm going to send that to repeater. And now that we're in repeater, let's try that. And here is the 419 unknown status. We can render it. I guess it doesn't render anything, but it says page expired. So it's not really letting us know what's going on. It's just giving us an error. I don't know if the error is because of the fact that I'm trying to log in as admin, or I don't know. The other thing I'm noticing is there is some type of expiration timestamp information here. Not sure if that's relevant in any manner. And if I highlight this, it's the same obfuscated file. Yeah, I don't think we could do anything with the cookie. So I think those are dead ends. Let's go back and see what else can we do. The other option is the usage, and I don't think that's going to really change much. Let's go into the proxy. Here we go. Same request, forward it, page expired. So we're not really getting anywhere there. So I guess my options now are, we probably need to figure out if we can do some SQL injection, either on the admin page or on the normal one. So let's go from there. Let's start testing SQL injections and see if it outputs any errors. In this case, the admin one, I'm not too hopeful because we're just simply trying to log in with normal credentials and it's giving us an error with normal things. So I'm not sure if we try a bunch of SQL injections that's going to really help us in any manner. So let's leave that for last and let's focus on the main one. From here, let's go ahead and try some simple, maybe a single quotation, and see if it gives us any errors for attempting some SQL injections. So I think I'm going to use the admin account that we registered with, and we'll put in password, and then we'll do a single quotation, and let's see what happens if we log in. And we sent that request, and we'll forward it. We'll forward this, and it looks like we didn't get anything there. So I'm not seeing anything showing up, which was the same thing when we tried logging in without actually creating an account. So we're not getting any response. The other opportunity is probably trying the forget password. So let's click that and take a look at the forget password. So from here, let's go ahead and try doing a single quotation and see if it gives us any type of errors for this. So I'm going to send password reset, and here is that right there. So I'm going to forward it, and let's see. So we're getting back a server error response. So that's pretty positive. Let's go ahead and do the classic 1 = 1. And I know Tiberius has mentioned several times, he's very adamant about not testing SQL injections with or 1 = 1. And his recommendation is doing a limit to 1. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do an or 1 = 1 and then limit to 1. And then here we'll enclose, and there is our payload. So we're essentially going to send this and see if this payload is able to bypass that 500 internal error. So let's go ahead and try that. We're going to send it, and here it is down here. We can inspect it and see exactly what it looks like without the URL encoding, but Burp Suite does the URL encoding on itself. So I'm going to forward it. I'm going to forward that. And it looks like that works. So we got backup. We have emailed you this and that. And there is our little payload that we are trying to test out. So that's awesome. If that works and that came through and we're not seeing a 500 internal error, that means it's time to load up SQLmap and to play around with SQLmap. Before diving into SQLmap, we do need to go back into Burp Suite and essentially copy the entire request for this post request to the forget password. And we're doing that because we're wanting to save this in a file for SQLmap. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm already in the usage folder, so I'm going to nano request. I'm going to paste in exactly what I just copied from Burp Suite with all the headers as well as the hard-coded token. And here is the email form with the admin usage, along with that one payload that we tested that went through. Now, one thing to note here is SQLmap is going to do all the heavy lifting for us. So we need to make sure that we delete this so that it doesn't conflict with SQLmap. We're not going to have the single quotation nor the SQL payload that we tested in the beginning. So we're just going to keep it blank, and we're going to instruct SQLmap to start appending on the email form at the end of the email a number of different SQL payloads and see which one works. So now that we have that in our request file, I'm going to Control O and save it and exit out. And then from here, I'm going to clear it. Here is the command that I'm going to be using. We're using SQLmap. We're using the request that we saved for the email form, and we're doing a level 5, a risk 3, and a batch. And again, I'm going to show you on the screen what all of these flags indicate. But essentially, I'm just copying this straight from my notes, my little cheat sheet through the CBBH SQL module from the HackTheBox Academy. So I'm going to use this and see exactly what SQLmap is going to find through this query. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to speed it up a few times. Okay, so SQLmap finished this query, and so let's take a look at it. So it says here, post parameter email is vulnerable. Do you want to continue testing? And SQLmap said, no, we don't want to, because we did find a vulnerability. So here is what SQL found for the parameter email post. It found a Boolean based blind for this payload right here. So that is awesome. It found a payload, and then it also found MySQL. So that is great. So here's some more information. The backend is MySQL. It's on a Linux and the Nginx 1.18.0. So now that we know that SQLmap found the parameter email as being vulnerable, let's go ahead and clear this. And if we do ever need to reference it, we can just go ahead and CD into this directory. This is actually a directory here. We can CD into this directory and look at the logs in the query that we made. So that is awesome that SQLmap does that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this and go back into my commands. And now that we found the initial parameter, the SQLmap says, yes, it is vulnerable. It now saves that. We're going to do a DBS. We're looking into the database. So hopefully we'll run that, and that's going to start enumerating the databases. All right, so there it goes. It finished finding the different databases. And in this case, SQLmap found 3 different databases. Information schema, which I'm going to copy. Whoops. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to throw it in my note clip. And there is one. So I'm going to copy it, performance schema, and then usage blog. And now that we have those 3 different databases, we're going to start enumerating the tables of the databases with SQLmap. So I'm going to clear it, and we're going to craft our request again. So instead of the DBS flag, we're going to do a capital D, and then I'm going to go up here in my note clip and I'm going to do, okay, I have here usage blog. So I'm going to paste in that. I'm going to paste in that correctly, the usage blog. And now I'm looking for the tables information for the usage database. So let's go ahead and run that, and it's going to do its thing and enumerate through the tables and figure out that. And again, for the sake of this video, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So this is pretty promising. SQL was able to enumerate through the tables, in this case, the database usage blog, and it uncovered 15 different tables, and it's pretty promising to see admin tables being thrown in there. So that is awesome. I think the first one that jumps out to me is probably the admin users. I do want to take a look at the admin users table and see what information is in there. So I'm not going to clear the screen. I'm going to keep this screen for reference, but I'm actually just going to copy this. And now I'm going to have that in my note clip. So copy that in my note clip, and I'm going to open up a new window, and I'm going to CD back into the HackTheBox usage. And in this case, instead of using the tables, what we're going to do is we're going to essentially do the same thing we did with the database. We're going to use a capital T, and we're going to target the admin users table. We're going to use the dump flag for that. So let's run that and see what information we can get out of that. Okay, there we go. So that finished, and it was able to retrieve some promising information here. It looks like in the admin users, we're getting an administrator, and here is a decrypted password for the admin user. So that is awesome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the password, because here's the password. So I'm going to copy this password, and it looks like, since I'm seeing the 2Y, it looks like it's decrypted. So let's copy that and then open up another window, and I'm going to CD back into usage. And here we're going to do hashes, and we're going to paste in that hash. So let's go ahead and save that. And if we don't know off the top of our heads that it's like decrypted through the 2Y, we can go ahead and just name that hashes, use that flag for the file for the hashes. In this case, name that hash comes back with a most likely for being a bcrypt with a 3200. So that's awesome. Now that we know that, we can go ahead and clear it and start crafting our hashcat command to start cracking this password. Okay, from here, let's go ahead and do hashcat, and we're going to use the M for the 3200. That's what name that hash was showing us. We're using the hashes file, the one that we found with the administrator, and then we're going to use the rocku text. So there is where my rocku text is. And if you need to, you can do a locate rocku.text to find where yours is. So I'm going to let that run, and that's going to do its own thing. It's going to start cracking that decrypted password that we found in the SQL database. All right, so there we go. So that was pretty quick. It cracked it within a couple seconds, actually. So it isn't a very difficult password, whatever one. That is why it's super important to have really strong password. But here is the hash that we were cracking, the decrypted hash, and there is the password that hashcat was able to find through the rocku text. So I'm going to copy that, save that into my notes, and from here, let's go ahead and dive into the website and see if we can log into maybe the admin or maybe the main one. I don't know. Let's try it. Admin, whatever one, see if that works. And there we go. We got access to the admin panel with that. So that is awesome. So from here, what I'm looking for now is the easy wins first. So before I dive into like figuring out if there's any type of vulnerabilities for Laravel, or let's take a look. I'm trying to figure out like maybe needing to go through the users or roles or permissions or even the operational logs. Before I do any of that, what I like going to is the settings. Since I'm seeing a picture for this users, and if I right click open image, here is the picture and I can save that. But I'm also noticing that if I did try going into here, the folders, we are getting some type of forbidden access to that. But the promising thing is, okay, there is an avatar image. So let's see if it's properly being sanitized or if there's any type of whitelist, blacklist preventing us from uploading our reverse shell. Because I'm hoping for this being our attack vector for the reverse shell. So what I've done already is I have a PHP monkey script for reverse shell already on my Kali Linux. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my terminal, open up a new window. I have a lot of windows now. I'm going to CD into the HackTheBox usage. And here, what I'm hoping for is I'm going to have the ability to upload here the PHP reverse shell. And if I cat it, here we go. Here's the reverse shell by Pentest Monkey. And one thing to note here is if you scroll down, there are two parameters that you do need to change. In this case, the IP address, which I already have. You can see here in the top right is my VPN IP address, and the port number that we're going to run netcat under for this reverse shell. So everything else is pretty standard boilerplate for this script. This script is used pretty often in CTFs in general. This is one that I like using. So I'm going to use this and see if we can upload this PHP. Since we know it's Laravel, and Laravel is built with PHP, we're going to try to upload this PHP reverse shell and hope for the best. Hope for no whitelist, blacklist. So let's try that now. I'm going to clear it. I'm going to go back in here and go into browse, and we're going to try to upload this. So let's go ahead and upload. We're getting an invalid file type. So this isn't working. The .php is being flagged by some filter. So I guess the alternative is instead of doing a PHP, maybe, and I don't know the logic behind how it's being filtered, but let's go ahead and change this into, instead of .php, we're going to add an extension to it. So we're adding the .jpeg, and hopefully we can fool the whitelist, blacklist into executing our PHP reverse shell. But before we do that, let's go ahead and let's open up another window. And in this case, we'll do a netcat1234 so that we can verify that it does work. And from here, let's go ahead. I've already renamed it. Let's go ahead and try it. So PHP reverse shell, there's the .php, and we've added an extension, hopefully trying to trick it into working. And let's go ahead, and it does come through. So whatever that filter was, we were able to bypass it. But now the moment of truth, can we submit this? Will that work? And we're getting nothing out of that. So I think we do need to refresh it. Maybe reset the whole thing and then try it again. Let's see. And now submit. We get an updated succeeded. So that's awesome. Let's take a look at our netcat, and we're not getting anything yet. So it did upload to it though, but we need to look. So we're seeing here ability to download it, and we can take a look at the bottom left corner. We're seeing where that link is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link. We're going to hit that and see if it works. So we're getting back a cannot be displayed because it contains errors. Let's see, let's go back in here, and we're going to start messing around with Burp Suite. So let's see if Burp Suite can save us. We can intercept it, go back into the website, and let's go back up and reset it. I'm going to forward this because I don't think that matters. And it looks like it just reset the original picture. So go back in here, and I'm going to upload the php.jpg to bypass that initial whitelist, and I'm going to submit that. And here we go. So we captured this request. I'm going to right click, send that to repeater so I have it. And here we go. Here is the file name, right? So the php reverse shell.php.jpg, and here is the code for the pentest monkey reverse shell in PHP. So I'm going to forward that, and let's see what happens. And it gets me another get request for the settings. Okay. So it did upload successfully, but we're having issues with it on trying to execute it here. So I think what we need to do is we need to go into the repeater. We need to play around with this. So instead of the JPEG, right, let's try just doing a PHP and see if that executes. So I'm going to send that, and it does come back with a 302 found. All right, so let's go ahead and try the PHP extension now. So let's see what that does. And this is promising and it's stalling, so that's a great thing. Let's take a look at R, and we were able to get a reverse shell this way. So that is awesome. So now opening up a new window, we're gonna do the breakout. And here we go, the breakout. So I'm just gonna copy now the Python 3. Here we go. And I'm pretty much upgraded my TTY. So there is that. I'm going to export the path. Okay, I'm going to flip through, paste that in, go back into the breakout, export the term, color, and last we're going to Control Z, and then I'm going to paste in that, hit enter a few times. And now I can Control C, I can clear it. All right, so there is our user flag. So we can throw that into the HackTheBox, we can cat user, and there we go. So I'm gonna copy that, throw that in, and we can clear it and go from here. So the next step is to see if we need to do any lateral movement or if we have any sudo L. In this case, we do, what was the password? We don't have a password, so it looks like we can't actually do a sudo L because we are dash, but we don't have dash's password. So it looks like we do need to look for some type of lateral movement. Can we cat the password file? It looks like we can cat the password file now that we are into the system. So let's take a look. There are a bunch of other users. Maybe Xander is the user that we need to do some type of lateral movement into. He has been bashed as well, and he has a home. I'm looking for other homes. So we are dashed there. And then the other thing is root. So we might have to lateral into Xander first before root, or maybe we can figure out a way of getting into root first, but let's go ahead and clear it. All right, let's start exploring the hidden files. So we're going to do an LSLA, and let's take a look here. So we're seeing here, okay, the bash history is being thrown to null. That's pretty standard, but there are a number of different things for the dash user that I'm noticing here. And it looks like one thing that pops out to me is the fact that there is an execute for this particular file right here. So I'm curious, what is this file exactly? I'm not sure what it is. So let's cat it and take a look at it and see. And it looks like, okay, here it says monitoring internal interval in seconds. So it sets a daemon 60 and it's enable web access with a port. And here we go. Here's some interesting thing. Allow admin with an admin password. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm hoping that we can use this password to do that lateral movement into Xander. So I'm not going to bother reading the rest of the script. Let's go ahead and let's clear it and try to sue Xander, and then throw in that password. And it looks like we were able to get access to Xander that way. So that is awesome. Now we're Xander. I'm going to clear it, and we are in the dash, home of dash, but we probably don't have any privileges in there. So let's go into Xander, see exactly if there's any hidden files in here. I'm not really seeing anything, but that doesn't really matter because since we know we've lateraled into Xander, then that must mean that sudo L is available for us. In this case, it looks like it is. So it has an all for no password for this file. So what is usage management? Let's go ahead and cat it and take a look at it. And okay, it's a bunch of mess. I'm not sure if it's obfuscated or what's going on exactly. But maybe if we file it, what is it? Okay, so it's coming back as an ELF file. So that's interesting. And here's the build ID for SHA-1. And here we can probably just go ahead and copy this and Google it and figure out if that fingerprints is anything, but probably not. But let's take a look at it. Let's see. I'm seeing some mentioning of project backup, reset admin. So I think it's safe to say that maybe we should just go ahead and run it and see what it does. In this case, okay, it gives us to choose an option, project backup my SQL data and reset the admin password. So I'd like to reset the admin password, but I'm not sure where it's resetting it or how to even access it. So let's go ahead with project backup and see exactly where it's throwing that. In this case, okay, so it's running a 7-zip and it's creating an archive in the var backups project.zip. So looks like it's compressing a number of different files and it's saving it there. So we can go ahead and copy that and let's see if we can, I don't know, CD into it. So let's CD in and see. So here is the var backups and here we go. We go on a bunch of different backups. And what I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and strings this file and see if we can get anything out of that. So let's take a look. And I'm just looking to see exactly what is it doing. In this case, it looks like, so here it is. It's using the 7-zip and it's using these commands here. And it's throwing it into the project zip file. Okay, very interesting. So knowing that I think there may be a vulnerability then in 7-zip to be able to maybe, let's see, maybe doing some type of symlink. Okay, going back into Xander's home, and then we'll do another sudo l. And now we know when we run this file with sudo privileges, we have the ability to create a project backup. And when we do the project backup, what it's going to do is it's going to run 7-zip and it's going to archive it into the backup, the var backups as a project.zip. And here it goes doing that. So what I'm thinking is maybe taking advantage of this and maybe doing some type of symlink in these files. So I'm going to create a file in the temp folder and then I'm going to symlink it. And then I'm going to run this as root privileges, this file for it to 7-zip it and encapsulate it into the zip file. And hopefully that will give us an ability to get root access or at least get the root flag. So let's try that out now. Now that we're in the right files, we're in the var ww into the HTML directory. We need to go ahead and start creating a file. In this case, I'm going to touch Neo and we're creating a file named Neo, and then we're going to symlink this to the root.ssh for the ID RISA for Neo. So we're symlinking these two files. And what we're hoping for is when we do a sudo l here, when we run the user bin usage management as root, we're hoping for the 7-zip to archive the ID RISA key into that. So let's go ahead and try. So we'll do a sudo, we'll run it, and we'll do one for project backup. And it looks like we're getting some information here. Begin open SSH private key. So it looks like it's throwing that in there. So that is awesome. So we were able to get an open SSH private key. So let's take a look at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. And it looks like we do need to go in to make some edits because I'm noticing no more files here. So let's copy this and then we'll go into our last pane, which is the break one. I'm going to clear this, go into HackTheBox Usage. And now that I'm in here, I'm going to code ID RISA. So, and I'm going to throw that in there, and let's start cleaning this up, because I'm noticing some things that are coming up that aren't needing to be there. In this case, we do need to make sure we remove these, right? We don't need these. Let's take a look. Okay. Okay, so, and then the other thing we need to make sure is there can't be any spaces. So let's do that like that, right? Because it's one long key. Okay, and so there's the beginning of the key, and I think we need to remove these as well. So let's go ahead and save that and take a look. We'll ls, we'll also chmod 600 it, and then hopefully we can start SSHing. So let's SSH, use the I flag for the file into root, and let's take a look. And there we go. We got access to root through that vulnerability. So that is awesome. From here, we can clear it. We can ls, and there we go. We have the root flag right there. And it looks like there is also a cleanup script. So that is interesting. Let's take a look at that. That is very cool. So that was it for this machine. So I had a lot of fun. I would probably rank this box more than an easy, because I think it's rated as an easy at the moment. I'd probably put it as a medium more than an easy, but overall I had a lot of fun. It was an enjoyable box. There's a lot of learning experience in this, but it was a great box to do. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And of course, if you have any questions, or if you feel like there's something I missed, or you want to add something, feel free to do so. Throw it in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video.